Guys, welcome to the podcast. I got a special guest for you today. Her name is Sandy. She's with an organization that I found completely by accident called Vested Canine. And we got a calendar, and I'm going to talk to you about that in a second, Sandy. And I'm a big supporter of the police. I'm a big supporter of police dogs, working dogs. I've trained working dogs. And when I saw this calendar, it just really struck a chord with me. You know, having run a nonprofit, I really find that very few nonprofits, in my opinion, I hate to say that, are really well suited or doing great jobs. Vested Canine is doing an amazing job, so I asked Sandy to come on the show and talk to you about that. So welcome to the show, Sandy, and why don't I give you a few minutes and just talk about your program, what you do, give us the Reader's Digest elevator pitch on what you do.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Vested Interest in Canines is a 501c3 nationwide nonprofit organization, and we were initially formed to provide bullet and stab protective vests in the state of Massachusetts. We did that for about a year. And then as a result of nationwide outreach, we learned that there were dogs across the country that had the same needs, as well as departments that didn't have budget to provide this life-saving equipment. So we expanded our mission about a year later and began helping dogs nationwide with the ballistic vests, and have been proudly able to provide over 4,100 vests for dogs in every state.
4,100 vests.
Yeah.
Wow. Tell me for a second, because you kind of skipped over, how did your first dog, the first vest you ever gave to a police department, how did that happen? Give me the circumstances of how you came about this amazing idea.
It was a dog in Massachusetts. He was at the Department of Corrections, and that was over 20 years ago. And I still have the vest. When the dog retired and then passed away, the officer offered the vest back to me, and I still have it. For me, it was the beginning of my passion for being able to help these dogs that do so much for us.
Yeah, I agree. They do so much for us. I mean, I do think they love their jobs. Can we talk about that for a second? Some people will have the idea that these dogs are slaves, that they don't like what they're doing, that we're using them and stuff like that. Talk a little bit about, you have a lot of experience with this. How do you see these dogs? Do you see them thriving, loving their jobs?
They do. That's all they want to do is work. They live to work and to please their handler. That's their joy in life. They want to work, they want to do a job, and they have high drive. So they love to play with the ball. They love to find the narcotics. They like to find the articles. They like to play with the toys. They have a high drive.
Right. And so the first dog that you gave, did something inspire you to do this? Like, did you hear of a dog being killed and you said, this is not going to happen again on my watch? I got an idea to give vests to these police departments. I've
always been an animal lover, and over 20 years ago, I saw a show called Rain, and it was about a Vietnam War dog, and the soldier was deployed with the dog, and when it was time for him to return home, he was not able to take the dog with him, and that was concerning to me. I feel like they were a partnership, a team, and they should be able to return home together. And he went through many measures to get the dog home, and he finally did get the dog home. And that piqued my curiosity about what are some of the things or challenges that some of my local law enforcement agencies were facing. And I talked to them about that, and about way back when, about 20 years ago, they said that for their canine units, budgets were a concern, that they weren't able to necessarily afford the vests, and they were fairly new about 20 years ago. The technology has updated and changed greatly, but it was a new thing. It was like a luxury for them to have a vest. So I felt like there was definitely a need, because these dogs are first in the line of duty at times, and their lives are on the line. They go in ahead of their human partners, so they need to have the same level of protection.
Right. And is it, I mean, I'm sure a lot of departments, I'm sure LAPD doesn't really need vests. Is there certain departments, and why do some have a budget for this and some don't? I find it incredible that not every police dog that's sent out is wearing a vest.
We see a lot of times that departments are raising funds to establish a canine unit.
Hmm.
That's often the case. And it's mostly, I would say, smaller sized departments that are raising the money, even to just purchase the dog
Right.
and the vehicle and the necessary outfitting for the kennel that goes inside, and even the kennel that they keep at home for the dog, or the dog's food. So some programs are run entirely on donations.
I didn't realize that. So smaller departments, you're saying, mainly don't have the budget for it, and then they get
We
assistance through donations?
we see it often.
Hmm.
Yes.
Wow. And so you started and I didn't even know you were in Massachusetts because I was born in Rhode Island, so I'm a fellow New Englander. Um, how did you expand it? So you started at a small police department in Massachusetts, and that's obviously the smallest state in the union, right? Rhode Island, but one of the smaller states. How did you expand from there to get other departments? Did word just spread?
It did. Social media had a lot to do with that. And there was a media outlet that approached us about a situation that happened in the state of Connecticut. Um, Connecticut had an entity that was helping uh, police dogs with vests, and it ended up on the news because it wasn't working out as it was anticipated. And the news outlet asked if what we thought about it and would we consider helping. And after we learned that the dogs were not getting the vest that they were slated to get, that really tugged at my heartstring, because
Hmm.
I don't want any dog to be out there without the option of having a vest. I think every handler should have that option,
I agree a
should they
thousand
need it.
percent.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
so once I learned about that, it was decided that, yes, it's time to help dogs in other states. So Connecticut was the very next state, and we still work closely with many dogs in the state of
Hmm.
Connecticut.
And you probably know a lot more about these vests than anybody else I'm going to have on this show. Tell me about the vests, because your vests are very unique in that they're stab and bullet resistant, right?
Yes, they are. We have a custom vest that is built for us by our manufacturer, who is in Florida, and they're called Survival Armor. We've been working with them for a number of years, and they customized a design for us that the vest is bullet and stab protective.
Mm.
It has two metal rings on the top of the vest that are called D-rings. So when the officer wants to use those as a tracking harness, they can use that.
Okay.
It also has a handle on it, which helps them if they want to hoist the dog over a fence.
Right.
And it also has an adjustment right under the dog's abdomen where they can tighten it or loosen it up, and it tucks up inside the dog's body. So it's very streamlined. It fits them very close to their body. And for an average dog, it weighs about 4.5 pounds.
Oh, that's all.
Yes, when I
That's
started
awesome.
doing this 20 years ago, it weighed at least double that.
I was going to say, yeah, I remember the old bulletproof vests because I worked as a bodyguard. So the old ones were very, very heavy, very thick, cumbersome too, and they weren't stab resistant, right?
Yes, these are much lighter in weight. They're streamlined to the dog's body, and they're thin. So the
Hmm.
ballistics inside are thin, which makes
Hmm.
it easier for the dogs to move and do their job.
For sure. Because you have to consider, I mean, a dog weighs 60 to 100 pounds. If they're carrying around a 10-pound vest, that's a really heavy thing for the dog,
Right.
right? Well, let me ask you this question. And this is the most common question I've always heard, and the most common question that I would think in the immediate thought. The vest covers the body, obviously the center most mass, where for us, when we're standing up, that's probably where we're going to get hit. What have you seen with dogs? Is it a real common area because the dog's coming straight at the person? Isn't the head very vulnerable or susceptible to either a stab or a bullet?
It is the head, yes, but obviously there's no protective gear potential potentially now for
Right.
protection.
Yeah.
Also the neck and the back and the chest.
The
So it
neck, the back, and
depends
the
on
chest.
it depends on where the assailant is coming at you from.
Yeah, of course. So do you see that? I mean, is there any cases where the dog wasn't saved by wearing the vest, where they did get hit in the head or the neck or anything like that?
I have heard of cases, yes, where the dog has received a gunshot wound to the head and did not survive.
But more probably the dog will be saved because center mass is where they're going to get most impact, especially I would think stabbing, right? I mean, because when the dog is holding on to somebody and the person would take out a knife, they're going for that chest area or that the ribs and
Yes,
stuff, right?
yes, we're aware of 5 dogs that were saved as a result of the vest that we had awarded.
Wow. I mean, what an amazing, amazing thing. And the vests are very cool looking, by the way. I mean, if you wanted to go to the website, it's VIK9s.org. And I can tell you, if you have whatever you can donate, you should donate. It just brings tears to my eyes looking at your site, Sandy. I mean, the amazing, amazing, amazing work you do is just monumental to me. I love what you're doing. It's really incredible. It's life-saving, and it really protects the beings that protect us, right? I mean, police officers protect us, but they send in their officers, and canines are police officers, right? Am I wrong? They're considered police
No,
officers?
they definitely are, and the dogs spend more time with their human partner than their families do.
Hmm.
They're very
Yeah.
strongly bonded together.
Now, you sent me a clip of an amazing story that was on Inside Edition, and the link to that is on your website. And I'm going to put a link to the website in the video down below. And if you're listening to the podcast, the audio podcast, go to robertcabral.com. I'll have links on the podcast page to all of Sandy's amazing work through Vested Canines. It's actually called Vested Interest in Canines, right?
Yes.
Okay, so and because I think it is that important, it's such an amazing donation you can make. Now, I believe you're a 501c3, so the donations are tax deductible.
Yes, they are.
Okay, do the vests stay with the dog the entire duration of the dog's tenure at a department, or do they need to be changed often, or how does that work?
So the vests have a 5-year warranty on them, just like a human officer's vest, and most dogs in their career will need 2. So
Okay.
part of our program for the vest grant does allow the dog to apply for a second vest when their first one expires.
Okay. And when you say the warranty, are you saying it becomes less bulletproof or less stab resistant as time goes on? Is it a degeneration of the actual materials?
It will break down over time,
It
and
will.
it
Okay,
also
will.
exposure in time. So, for example, fluorescent lighting or extreme heat or extreme cold.
Interesting. And what about water? They're obviously waterproof, but I mean, does water break them down as well?
No, there's not any study about water, and a lot of these dogs do water training in them.
Right. And most of the dogs, I mean, obviously, I think, and I could be incorrect, but are most of these dogs dual purpose dogs where they're doing detection and apprehension work?
A majority of them are. I would say that we probably work with about 20% single purpose dogs and 80% dual purpose dogs.
But you still provide, do you preferentiate for giving vests to dual purpose dogs over, like, let's say a detection dog alone, or how does that work?
No,
Okay.
no.
If
Any
they
dog
need
that
it.
has any certification who goes to work every day, or even if the dog is working with a reserve officer, we work with reserve officers who
Wow.
do this work out of the goodness of their heart, but their
Mhm.
dog is still doing the same job. So we help the dogs based on what they do for work, even whether it's a single purpose or a dual purpose. We provide for both.
And how do you select the dogs? I'm sure you must have tons of applications coming to you all the time for vests. How do you determine who gets
That's
them?
a common question, and the answer is probably not what you think. We don't select them. It's first in and first out. So they
Okay.
fill out an application document and provide the necessary paperwork. We go through everything, and if they have completed all the necessary paperwork, then we award the dog a vest.
It's that simple.
It
So
is.
there's no bureaucracy or anything like that.
It's
Wow.
simple.
Tell me
It's
something.
very
What does a vest cost? Like, if somebody wanted to buy, could somebody buy one vest and put their name on, like in honor of whatever? Do you ever do anything like that?
So we work with thousands of sponsors across the country who are very generous to us, and we couldn't do this without them. And they are able to fill out a sponsor form, which allows them to suggest a name of a department or maybe a dog that they might like to help. And if we do have a request from that department, we will try to match it up with that sponsor. Um, If not, then we would give it to the next dog in line. And sponsors do have an opportunity to put a custom embroidery on the vest. It goes right down the front of the dog's chest.
So right here.
Yes.
This way, wow. And what would that donation be? I'd love to see people do this. I think it's so important. Like, it would be a great, what about a great tribute to a dog that you lost, that you loved, or family member? You know, how much would that cost? What would that donation be? Let's get some people to do that.
$960 if they mail in the check, or $985 if they opt to do it online. And many people do it in memory of someone, you know, that's been special in their lives that they've lost, or somebody that they want to honor, fallen officers or fallen canines or beloved pets or family members. And we're delighted to do that, to pay tribute, you know, to those that were important in their life.
I think that's a fantastic idea. I mean, what a great way to have a memory of your dog or somebody else live on and save a life and do something monumental for under $1,000. That's I know we're on tough times. I'm just saying there's plenty of people who could afford it, and I think it would be an amazing, amazing thing to do, to donate to that. So are the vests, once they're done, they're discarded and then a new one goes on? You said because of the 5-year warranty, you don't, obviously it's very smart that you don't say, well, let's see if we get 6 or 7 out of it, and God forbid we lose a life because we're cheap. What happens then? They turn that vest in and it's applied towards the next vest?
They'll turn it into us, or they'll actually use it they can use it for testing purposes. Should they have a range and they want to test it out, they're welcome to do that. And then they will just go on our website and apply for another vest.
And would you give those people preferential treatment since they've already had one? We wouldn't want to see those dogs suddenly without a vest, right?
There's no difference in where they appear in the lineup, in the queue. There's no difference.
And you said you've given out over 4,100 of these across the United States since you started. What would we say at any given point? How many dogs are out there currently right now with a vest on from vested interest in canines?
The anticipated thought is about 30,000 active duty canines working.
Wow. And how many of those have you provided vests for? Like, is there a number, like right now, is there 100 or 300 or different dogs out there with vests?
Oh, for ones that are currently active?
Yeah.
I don't know if I have an answer for you.
Okay. It's such an interesting idea, because you are so, like, you would take an application from any state. You don't say, well, this is my home state, I'm going to go here first. You would go to any state, and if they can qualify their dog, they're going to get a vest, right?
Yeah. Yes, we work with dogs in Alaska, dogs in Hawaii. I mean, dogs everywhere.
What's the most interesting breed of dog you've ever gotten a vest for?
I think the one that I was most interested was a Belgian Tavern, and that's a really unusual breed of dog. We have a fundraising calendar that we put out each year, and this particular dog breed is featured in our calendar this year, and I was really delighted to showcase him, because I don't know if a lot of people realize that there are a lot of different breeds of dogs that do work in police work. Obviously, people are familiar with the German Shepherd and maybe a Labrador Retriever, but there are Belgian Malinois. We've worked with Rottweilers, German Short-haired Pointers. Interesting. We've worked with a lot of pit bulls too. They have been using pit bulls to do detection work, and they're very strong at doing that. So there are a lot of them. There's giant schnauzers being worked for police dogs and Doberman Pinschers, but the Belgian Tavern, I think, was very unusual because people had not even heard of that breed of dog before.
Yeah. Yeah, we see it a lot in working dogs and in the Belgian show ring, obviously, too. But it's very interesting that they would use them, because I think it's a softer dog than the Malinois. The Malinois is such a hard-hitting dog, the Dutchies and the German Shepherds. Are there ever smaller dogs that do it?
Yeah, there are some smaller dogs at times. There's Springer Spaniels that they're using. And I want to make sure not to leave out the Bloodhounds, because that's one of my favorite breeds, is the Bloodhounds.
Well, you have a picture of a Bloodhound on the front. I'm looking at your website right here on my tablet while I'm talking to you, and I think a Bloodhound is one of the pictures in the slideshow that goes by. You see it. So you have a lot of German Shepherds and stuff like that. And you have really cool gear, too. I'm noticing the shirt you're wearing. There's the Bloodhound. Canine Sherlock, right? In Jupiter,
yes,
Florida.
Sherlock. He's in Florida.
What a cool looking dog. I was saying that you have really cool logo gear too. It looks very, very cool. I love that. It's something that they can get off your site as well.
Yes, absolutely. We have various campaigns at various times. We pay tribute to fallen canine heroes once a year by making gear available for 2 weeks with having the names of all the fallen canines on our backs with the tanks, tees, and hoodies, and we do that in January of every year.
Well, that's coming up now then, isn't it?
It's happening now.
So are those shirts available currently or no?
They are. They'll be available until January 26th.
Well, God, we better get on. Well, I'm going to get this podcast up really soon. Today's the 15th. Hopefully, we'll have it up in the next couple of days, and hopefully, we can get some people to get those shirts. What a great tribute to do to the. I mean, what a sad thing, first of all, that any dog ever gets stabbed or hurt. But what can people do, or what should people know more about this, the importance of this? Because one thing I get a lot is people say, well, dogs shouldn't have to work. It's animal abuse. A lot of animal rights people, and there's good animal rights people, but there's also some that are quite psychotic, who think that dogs should never have to work and stuff like that. How do we educate people about this important work? Because, I mean, we know they love doing the work, but I mean, is there some other thing that we can kind of bring up to mention to them? That's, to me, so important.
Well, sometimes people have an opportunity to see canines working, whether the community has a demonstration going on, or perhaps they attend a demo for the school for the children, or what have you, to educate them. A lot of departments are very big into educating the general public about the importance and how the dogs help ensure community safety with the work that they do. I mean, they find missing children and patients, elderly patients that may have left their facility.
Sure.
They help find suspects, and they take drugs off the street and guns and
Explosives.
Yes, explosives. Dogs do so many things. They also detect currency.
Mm-hmm.
They work.
Do any of the dogs you work with? I was going to ask you. So do you work with airport police dogs as well?
We do, yes.
Okay. So those dogs will detect everything from even ivory and drugs, firearms, and anything like that as well.
Right.
So here's a great animal that's really helping keep the country safe, because it's taking. And the one thing I remember, a friend of mine who's passed away since was a canine trainer, and he said that back in the day when canines were really, this was going back 50 years, I guess, or 40 years. And he said when they were first introducing canines, the canines are actually what they call a less lethal force. So it's actually a benefit, because if somebody's going to get bit by a dog, it's one thing, but if they get shot by a bullet, it's another thing. So actually deploying a canine is a real benefit to subdue an assailant without doing too much damage.
Right, and many people opt to not want to get involved with a canine, and they just give up.
Yeah, it's usually a smart idea, right? Well, I mean, I do think they love it, having trained dogs and worked with canines a bit. I think that I don't think a dog could have a happier life than, I mean, Goofy loves nothing more than to bite. Like if I put him on a sleeve or on a bite suit, he's almost 11 years old, and you've never seen a dog act younger than when he gets to go do that work. And I think that's really just what these working dogs do, whether they're detecting or they're apprehending. I think it's just the most fun thing they can do. Now, do you have a dog? I know you mentioned you have cats.
I don't have a dog, but
Wow.
I will say that I have 4,100 dogs.
Yeah, right, exactly. Have you ever wanted to get a working dog, so you'd have that kind of energy with you, or do you just think okay, I'm going to stay detached from it?
Many years ago, I had a dog. I'm not sure if that would fall into my life again. I normally do a lot of traveling, so I do get an opportunity to meet the dogs and the handlers that we work with. So that's been really fulfilling for me.
And if you haven't seen the Inside Edition story on the website of Vested Interest in Canines, you owe it to yourself to watch this. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you're going to watch it, have a box of tissues, because I was watching it with Janet, and I mean, there's this real tough cop, and he starts talking, and he starts tearing up, and then I started tearing up, and I was just so powerful to watch this story. I'm not going to say anything else about it, but man, if you want to see what an amazing thing and importance it is for a dog to have a vest, you gotta watch that video. You gotta just, I mean, take a couple minutes out of your day, go to VIK9s.org and watch this video. If you, whether you decide to support the amazing work that they're doing or not, you just watch the video and share it, because I think it's gonna give you an insight into how important this work is. And they're gonna be out there. I think, I think canines are super important to our society, to keep us safe, to protect police officers, and also it's a job they love, love, love to do. They're not being forced, because if they were being forced, they'd be off the force. I mean, you can't force a dog to do this kind of work. And I think you got to watch that video. It's just, to me, just awesome, awesome work. Let me ask you, how would a police department get in touch with you, Sandy, about if they needed a vest? Can they also go to your website and apply there?
Yes, everything's on our website. There's a section that says qualify for a vest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of several programs that we have. We do have other programs available, such as medical insurance for the dogs, and we provide first aid kits and Narcan, which is an opioid reversal kit in case the dogs have ingested any narcotics.
No, that's something that's really important I want to talk about for a second. So I didn't know that. So you're actually providing the Narcan as well as all these other things, because talk about that for a second, how that happens and how deadly that can be for a dog.
So sometimes the dogs come in contact with a narcotic because they are looking to detect it, and other times it happens when they are not looking to detect it, and potentially they can overdose just like a human. So to have access to the Narcan kit is really important for the officer to have it, and we provide a kit that it has 2 doses, 4 milligram doses of nasal Narcan, and oftentimes they may need to use both of those doses as they're on their way to the vet to get their dog treatment to save the dog's life.
And let's face it, drug dealers are not nice people. I've heard oftentimes of dogs being set up where they will put some of that into food to kill the dogs.
There's been a number of dogs that have had to use the Narcan that we're aware of.
And how many of those, like how much does one of those kits cost to donate?
So what we do is we provide this program once a year. We're getting ready to roll it out again for 2021. And we generally buy 500 Narcan kits, and it's first come, first serve, and they also apply on our website. The program's about a $50,000 program.
Wow, so it's about $100 per kit. So if you can't afford a vest for $1,000, you could drop $100 and potentially save a dog's life again. So, well, listen, is there anything else you want to talk about? I mean, I could talk to you all day about dogs, and with anybody who comes on my show, I just love, love, love talking about dogs. Is there anything else you want to bring up and talk about? Because I'm glad we brought up the Narcan kit, because that's so huge that for a smaller donation, you can have a huge impact as well.
Yep, there's a couple of things I'd like to point out. One of them is about the medical insurance. That was a program that we started in 2016 called Healthcare for Canine Heroes. And that program is available to canines who have received the vest from our program, and they qualify on our website. But a lot of times these dogs are subject to getting injured in the line of duty, and whether they need testing or whether they need surgeries or medication or other kinds of therapies to help them, like physical therapy, we pay the premium for the health insurance for a whole year, so that the officers personally, if they own the dog personally, or from a department standpoint, are not required to pay any premiums, and they get the medical insurance just like humans have medical insurance. And we've been able to expand our program. We have over 100 dogs on it now.
Wow. Well, I'm floored. I think your organization is amazing. I think what you do is amazing. I hope everybody who listens to this will at the very least go to your website, Vested Interest K9s, VIK9s.org. Watch the Inside Edition piece. It's amazing. Peruse
you don't want me to
it.
talk about that, huh?
Go ahead. No, I wish you would. I just didn't want to blow. But yeah, if you want to talk about it, you can.
I will.
Tell me, please.
In December of 2018, I was made aware of a dog in Jonesboro, Arkansas that was shot in the line of duty 5 times. His name was K9 Gabo, and he was with the Jonesboro Police Department, and his officer's name is Eric Johnson. It was a suspect barricade situation, and the dog was shot at close range 5 times. He was wearing the vest that we donated. I don't know if I can recreate the feelings that I felt when the officer let me know what happened. He let me know the very next morning as he was sitting by himself at the vet's office in the kennel, laying there with the dog who had emergency surgery, not knowing what the fate would be of K9 Gabo. And he let me know what happened. And I was ready to get on a plane and go there. Just knowing that this happened to him, and a miracle occurred. 3 days after this dog sustained 5 gunshot wounds, he walked out of the vet's office. He went home. He jumped in the Eric's truck by himself, and he went home to heal with his family. I don't know about miracles, but I certainly believe in them because of all the trauma he endured and the great people that took care of him at the animal hospital, and his handler that took good care of him, and a lot of prayers and a vest. He went home in 3 days. We posted that video on our social media pages, and it got over 3 million views. 3 million views of people supporting this dog. And in 2 months, he went back to work full duty.
Wow.
The resilience, the drive, the love for the job that he did, and wanting to be back at work at his partner. I had an opportunity to go to Arkansas and meet Officer Johnson and Gabo about 9 months after this happened. And during that time, Eric and I became friends. We spoke almost every day. And he said, I want to join your mission. I want to help because I think every dog out there should have a vest like my dog because you saved his life. And we made sure that every dog in that area had a vest. And so when I went, I had the opportunity to meet each of those dogs and the handler. And I was greeted at the airport by K9 Gabo and Eric. And I can't even tell you the emotions. It's still emotional for me now. To touch that dog and feel him in my hands and just touch his fur and hug him and know he was okay. Amazing. Just amazing. And I had an opportunity to go to the Jonesboro Police Department and meet with the chief. And he let me hold the vest in my hands that was covered in blood and touch the 9mm round that was stopped by the vest. Unbelievable. The most emotional thing I have ever experienced.
Yeah. Oh, it's I mean, what a way to know that you're doing something amazing, right? I mean, who else can really see that and feel that and touch that and experience that? And you have a living, warm body of a dog that's alive because of something that you did.
And I feel like I have a person that I am bonded to for the rest of my life because he had the opportunity to get a vest. He got the vest and he made sure his dog was wearing it, and it saved his life.
What an amazing love that shows from this police officer for his canine. I mean, that's just insane. Like how much, the connection, just talk to me about that connection that you see between the police officer and his canine. Because we see, I remember a couple of years ago, there was a story of a police officer who left his dog in the car and the car overheated, not knowing that there's actually air conditioning, there's alarms and all these, there's so many security pieces in place for these dogs, that accidents do happen, obviously. People have accidents all the time. But what I want you to just touch on, because you probably have a lot of experience with this, is what is that like feeling like? What is that bond between a police officer and his or her canine?
It's like a very strong understanding between the two, that the officer will protect his dog and the dog will protect his handler at all costs. It's extremely strong. The dog can read the body language of the officer. They understand the officer's commands, whether it's verbal or hand signals. And they understand it's really an unspoken language between the two of them.
Mm-hmm. But I don't think there is a stronger bond. I mean, we all love our dogs. I love my dogs, and a lot of trainers and owners love their dogs. But I think that bond for a person who spends more time with that dog than they probably spend with their wife and children,
They do.
it's not just like a firearm or a car. It's like the most amazing bond in the world. It's their best friend. Every police officer I've talked about, their police canine partner is their heart and soul. There's no strong, and these guys are tough to bond with. I mean, they're cops. They're rugged, tough, real guys who don't take a lot of gruff, who are quite gruff and strong. But man, want to see a police officer melt. You want to see a real man melt. You talk to them about their police canine partner, and they turn into little boys.
Yeah, and it's part of their family. The dog is part of their family.
100%. I love it. I mean,
and many times they're bonded with their family members, their other family members as well, and they're protective of their family members. They understand that that's their pack.
Yeah. The canine actually is part of the police officer's family. I want to stress that because they live at home. They don't live in a kennel somewhere and they go pick them up. This police officer takes the dog home with them. They feed them, they walk them, they cuddle with them. They're on the couch with them. They're bonding with their children and their wife or husband, whatever it is. And there is no bond like that. I don't think any pet dog is as happy as a police officer's dog at getting to be with, most people go for work for 8 hours a day, but a police officer takes that partner with him back and forth. So they're together pretty much 24/7, right?
Right. And they do a lot of training together. They do a lot of training. They do a lot of playing. They do a lot of connection together. And even when they have a day off, they're still doing training together. They might be playing ball, or they might be taking them on a track or on a hike or something like that. Or they might take them swimming.
Yeah, they're always doing something.
They're always together.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I love police canines. I mean, I love all dogs, but I mean, I have a soft spot in my heart for any military or a hardcore working dog like that, because I really think originally when dogs were domesticated, they were domesticated to do a job, and don't think they're ever happier than when they're doing a job. So
I've been exposed to many of these dogs, and I will tell you, I've seen so many happy dogs and so many happy handlers, and how proud they are of the work that their dogs do with them, and they should be.
Yeah, they should be. I mean, thank God for our police officers, for our first responders, for our military. God bless all of them. I mean, give thanks to them for your freedoms you have, no matter what side of the political side you're on. Give thanks to the people who protect you and protect your rights and protect this great country of ours. And thank you, Sandy, for what an amazing thing. I hope you'll come back on if you have, another story you want to share with us, because I think my viewers would love this.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, listen, one more time, vested interest in canines, VIK9, the number 9, VIK and the number 9s.org. Go to the site, whatever you can afford, $10, $100, or God, if you can do it, do the $985 and buy a vest. Put your mom or your dad or your brother or your dog's name on it, and share your love for dogs with another dog, with a dog that's saving and will save lives. So your gift will keep on giving. Stay in touch with me, Sandy. I love our conversation. Thank you.
I will. Thank you so much.